Your heart is pounding before you've even said a word. Your palms are sweating right before the handshake. Your stomach is twisting like something's actually wrong, even though you're just sitting outside an interview room or waiting for a first date to walk in. Nothing here is dangerous. So why does your body act like it is? Why does it react to a Zoom call or a nervous conversation the same way it would react to a real threat? That's the mystery we're unpacking today. Why your body panics over things that can't actually hurt you. Here's the answer. Deep in your brain sits a tiny structure called the amygdala, and it cannot tell the difference between a hungry predator and a scary conversation. It scans every situation for threat before your conscious mind even catches up. The moment it flags something as high stakes, it doesn't pause to ask questions. It fires a signal straight to the hypothalamus, which sounds the body's internal alarm, triggering the adrenal glands into action. That alarm floods you with adrenaline and cortisol, pulling blood away from digestion and toward your muscles, preparing you to fight or run. That's why your stomach drops or twists right as you're about to walk in. So if blood is rushing toward muscles, what happens to your heart next? With blood rushing away from digestion and toward your muscles, your heart has to work harder and faster to move it. That's the mechanical reason your heart pounds before you've even opened your mouth. Adrenaline increases both your heart rate and the force of each beat because a body preparing to fight or run needs blood moving fast. So the pounding you feel before you speak up in a meeting or before a first date walks toward your table isn't your emotions running wild. It's a pump working overtime to move fuel to muscles that in this case aren't actually going to be used, but the heart isn't working alone. As adrenaline ramps up the body for possible physical exertion, it also flips on your sweat glands because a body about to fight or flee is a body that's about to overheat. That's why your palms go damp right before a handshake, or why you feel that thin layer of sweat under a dress shirt walking into an interview. It's not nerves leaking out through your skin, it's your body pre-cooling itself for a sprint that never comes. Now here's where it gets more physical. That same alarm response releases stored glucose into your bloodstream, dumping a burst of quick-access energy into your system. In a real physical emergency, that glucose would get burned off almost instantly, powering your legs to run or your arms to fight. But sitting in a chair, waiting for your name to be called, there's no movement to burn it. That flood of fuel with nowhere to go is exactly why your hands can start to tremble or your voice can shake when you're put on the spot. It's not weakness, it's unused energy looking for an exit it isn't getting. So pause here for a second because we've already answered more than it might seem. A perceived social threat, a slide deck, a swipe right, a tough question from a boss, triggers adrenaline and cortisol. That surge redirects blood, spikes your heart rate, releases glucose, and switches on your sweat glands, all at once, all preparing you for a fight or an escape that isn't going to happen. That's the pounding heart, the sweaty palms, and the shaky hands, fully explained by one connected chain. Not three random symptoms, but some of the sensations from that opening scene move slower. The dry mouth mid-conversation, the flushed heat creeping up your neck when you say something awkward. The tunnel vision that makes a boardroom feel like it's closing in. Those aren't separate malfunctions. They're the same alarm, just running on a different clock. While adrenaline hits fast and fades fast, cortisol builds more slowly and lingers longer, sustaining the alert well after the first jolt. That's why dry mouth can creep in the longer a hard conversation drags on. Why your face can flush minutes after the embarrassing moment already passed. Why your thoughts can narrow and race the longer the social pressure holds. It's not a new problem showing up. It's cortisol keeping the original alarm switched on. Here's the part that reframes everything. This entire system, the amygdala scanning for danger, the hypothalamus sounding the alarm, the adrenal glands flooding you with chemicals, was built for one specific job: keep you alive in the presence of physical predators. It was never built to understand PowerPoint slides, unread text messages, or a stranger sitting across from you at dinner. It was never updated to tell the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and a scary conversation, so it doesn't try. It just fires the same ancient response either way: full alert, full chemical flood, full body mobilization, for a threat that was never going to physically touch you. Which raises an obvious problem. If a predator actually showed up, you'd run, or you'd fight, and that surge of adrenaline and glucose would get used up doing exactly what it was designed for. The chemicals would discharge through your muscles, your heart rate would naturally come back down afterward, and your body would return to baseline because the emergency was physically resolved. But in an interview chair, or across the table from a date, you don't get to run. You don't get to swing your arms. You just sit there, upright, still, and polite, while adrenaline and cortisol keep circulating with absolutely nowhere to go. That's why the feeling doesn't just spike and vanish. It lingers. It sits in your chest and your stomach and your hands, long after the handshake, long after the question was answered, because the chemical signal was never given a physical outlet to burn off through. Aren't it? Which leaves one very specific question. If your body can't tell the difference between a predator and a presentation, and if sitting still means the alarm chemicals just keep circulating, is there any way to signal safety to your nervous system without needing to physically fight or flee anything at all? Here's the good news buried inside all that chaos. Your body isn't just an alarm with no off switch. It has one built in, and it's called the vagus nerve. This nerve runs from your brainstem down through your chest and gut, and when you stimulate it the right way, it sends a signal straight back to your nervous system that says, "We're safe now, stand down." The remarkable part is you don't need the nervous trigger to disappear first. You don't need the interview to be over or the date to have already gone well. You can activate this switch while the pressure is still happening. Here's how. Inhale slowly for about 4 seconds, then exhale even slower, stretching it out to about 8 seconds. Repeat that pattern for roughly a minute, right before you walk into the room, right before you hit join on the call, right before the handshake. The exhale is the important part. Making it longer than the inhale is what tells your vagus nerve to fire, because a long, controlled exhale is something your body associates with safety, not danger. You can't sigh out a slow breath like that while being chased by something. Your nervous system knows this, even if you've never thought about it consciously. As that vagal signal builds, it starts working against the exact chain we traced earlier. Adrenaline had sped up your heart, so vagal activation slows it back down. Adrenaline had triggered your sweat glands, so as the alarm eases, that clammy feeling in your palms starts to fade. The shakiness from all that released glucose settles as your body stops treating it like fuel for an emergency sprint. None of this happens because the meeting got easier or the date became less nerve-wracking. It happens because you gave your body a different signal to respond to, one that competes directly with the fight-or-flight signal instead of just waiting for it to burn out on its own. And here's the reframe worth sitting with. None of what you felt earlier, not the pounding heart, not the sweaty palms, not the twist in your stomach, means something is wrong with you. It means your alarm system is doing exactly what it was built millions of years ago to do. It's just aiming that protection at the wrong kind of threat. A slide deck instead of a predator, a text message instead of a physical danger. The system isn't broken. It's simply outdated, still running old software on a body that now spends most of its danger encountering emails and eye contact instead of teeth and claws. It's hard to rethink this breathing pattern before a few nervous moments this week. Pay attention to something specific. Not whether the nervousness disappears completely, because it probably won't, and that's fine. Watch instead for whether your heart rate settles a little faster than it usually would. Notice if the sweaty palms ease up sooner, or if the shakiness in your hands quiets down before you even start speaking. That's the vagus nerve doing its job, working in the background, even while the situation in front of you stays exactly the same. So think back to that moment outside the interview room, or across the table waiting for a date to sit down. Your heart was pounding, your palms were damp, your stomach felt like it had a fist in it. None of that meant you were failing at staying calm. It meant an ancient alarm system, built for real predators, mistook a conversation for danger, and did exactly what it was designed to do. So next time your palms go sweaty before a big meeting, remember, that's not weakness. It's your ancient alarm system mistaking a slide deck for a saber-toothed tiger, and one long exhale is how you tell it to stand down.